Well, at that time, I was gay. And I didn't want to admit it, but um, that's what it was. And it was just back then, it wasn't something that was so out there. It was something that people kind of knew, but they didn't say anything, or you had to kind of like be yourself, but kind of keep it to yourself a little bit because then you would be putting yourself at risk um, for violence. I kind of discovered that I was more interested in boys probably in the eighth grade. And I had a friend at my school who we kind of knew about each other. And so that's how we bonded. And so I didn't know anything about the LGBT at that time at all. Well, I did hear it at church quite a bit. And it's funny because that's kind of one of the reasons why I stopped going to church, because I just got tired of feeling like every Sunday was about me. It was basically telling me that if you were a homosexual, or you were same gender loving or any of that kind of stuff, that you weren't going to go to heaven. It totally was a hard message to hear, especially when I felt like God had turned his back on me, and not realizing that he knew who I was before I did. And so how could he not love me if he knew that? He put me here. He made it possible for me to be born. So why would he not love me? But I had to grow up a whole lot before I realized that. Catch One was a fun place. It really was a lot of fun. And they used to have this show called Divas for Dollars on Monday nights, where all the girls would come and perform there. And my grandmother, Mahogany, was the host at the time. And it was just a fun place to be. I mean, because you could definitely hang out and meet people. And I remember when Wesley Snipes was studying his role for Tu Wong Fu, he came to the show one night and sat in and watched all the girls perform, and he tipped us all, and just little things like that. Even Madonna was there partying one night. So, I mean, you never knew who you would get to see at the Catch One also. So that was another reason to go. And they had good drinks. I started performing because I just enjoyed um, female artists. And I initially started out doing Freddie Jackson, doing guy songs at the club. But then my friends talked me into performing in drag. And I kept telling them that I was going to do it. And they kept like setting it up so I could do it. And then when it would come time, I would say, oh, well, I don't have this, I don't have that. So then this one time they said, okay, well, learn this song, which I already knew the song. And they said, then you can perform at the club on Friday. And I said, oh, okay, knowing that I would come up with a reason not to be able to do it. But they worked me because they had somebody to do my hair. They had got me a wig. They had got me outfits. Everything that I said that I didn't have, they had. So there was no excuse for me not to do it. I had my gay family, and me and my gay mother, rest her soul, Latrice, we would perform at the clubs and go, because back then we would call it chicken money. We were going to the club to make some chicken money because if you didn't have any money to do anything else, you would go perform and make some tips, and then you'd be able to get you a little chicken box on the way home and eat. My stage name was Chandelier, and so I just kept the name because it kind of stuck. But I chopped it down to Chandi because I felt like chandelier was too dramatic for the daytime. It just seemed natural to me that that's kind of like who I was meant to be. So here I am today. Circus of Books was a novelty adult bookstore. And it was funny that I actually started working there many years later. I worked there for a few months, and it was a very eye-opening experience for me. I don't know if I can say this. Can I say this kind of stuff on the film?
Oh, yeah.
I actually saw guys jacking off in the aisleways to the movies. Customers who would rent trans porn would think that I came along with their videos. I went to go take the trash out one morning early, and there were two guys having some wild sex behind the trash can. And so I threw my stuff in. They didn't stop. They kept going. It wasn't like I even had came. And then I'm a little nosy, so I kind of stopped to kind of look for a minute. And they was like trying to reach and trying to touch me and bring me in. I was like, oh, wow. So, yeah, those are just some of the things that I experienced working there. I saw something on the news, and it was talking about this disease that was ravishing all these gay people, and that they didn't have a cure for it. And they were saying all these crazy things like it could have potentially come from monkeys or something along those lines, something crazy like that. Shortly after that, I met someone who was HIV positive, and it was him who really kind of explained it to me. Okay, you have HIV. What does that mean? And so he just said it was a disease, and he was taking these pills, and pretty much that was it. He made it seem like he was okay.
And what happened to your friend?
He died. They just died in such tragic looking ways. Ooh, it's hard to even think about it. People who I know that passed away, who I went to their funerals, and they had open caskets, and just how they looked like a shell, and they didn't look like the people that I knew. I was working at a makeup counter, and my makeup counter closed, and my mentor, Valerie Spencer, told me about Minority AIDS Project had an opening, and she got me an interview. Once I started working at MAP, and I realized that people did listen to me, and my words did mean something to someone. I was able to utilize my voice for people who felt like they didn't have one. And that's kind of where my passion kicked in, and that's when I really wanted to do more for the community, and be out there as much as I could, being a trans woman of color, because I felt at that time like there wasn't many of us out there who were willing to go sit in these rooms and be a voice and speak up on behalf of trans women of color. And I felt like, why not be me, in these rooms? I have no problem speaking up about what I feel like needs to be spoke about. So why not? I'm definitely about people knowing their status and knowing the reason why they should get tested, and that knowing their status is a good thing, especially if they're sexually active, and they should definitely be looking at PrEP, you know, so that way they can remain HIV negative. People live long, healthy lives when they take their medication and they stay faithful to their medical appointments and do the things that they need to do to fix their diets. And it's not a death sentence anymore. The goal is to get to zero, but we're not there yet. And the only way for us to get there is for us to continue to protect ourselves and be strong enough to engage in these conversations that are going to seem very uncomfortable when you're with intimate partners. You better ask people, have they tested for HIV, and stop asking people, are they clean? Clean is what you are when you get out the shower. Boom. That's not saying that you've tested for HIV recently, or you've taken a test for STDs or any of those kind of things. You have to get down to the specifics. You can't beat around the bush with these questions. You want to know what you're getting yourself into before you get into it, or you put yourself at risk to be a statistic. And just spread more love. Spread more love, because that's all we need in the world today to move along and be okay. And that's whether you're HIV positive or negative or sick or not sick, whatever you are. Love is all we need, and that's what we need today. And share that with someone instead of negativity. Throw glitter, not shade.